So
progress
you just
together.
read off all the names of the thugs and the criminals and people who've been attacked by cops because they disobeyed the cops or whatever.
And you
Are you
describe Breonna,
saying?
but forgive me,
Are
you
you saying
describe Breonna
that
Taylor as a thug, as someone who was in her own home,
with a drug
not on the
dealer,
street, not doing anything
with a drug
thug-like, as you
addict,
call it, in her own home,
with a
and
drug
someone comes
addict?
in with a no-knock warrant and
It
kills her
wasn't a
in her
no
own
knock. It was a
home,
no
but you
knock. It
describe her
was
as a
not a no
thug?
knock. Hey, as
You
a
describe
reverend,
Jason Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a brother who was with his young children, taking one of them to a birthday
and he was
party,
wanted for
trying to get in his
he
car,
was
as a
wanted for the
thug.
abuse of a woman. But let me ask, Brianna was in the house
Let
with a
me ask,
drug
how
addict
could you
person
possibly, in good conscience, holistically describe that class of individuals that I named? How could you, in good conscience, describe them as thugs?
because I
These are
love what's
people
right
who
and
were
I know the
expressing
truth.
their First Amendment rights, freedom of assembly. Not even Breonna Taylor; she was in her own apartment,
But you're not
in her
being
personal
honest when you
dwelling.
said it
But
was
these
the
are
no
people who were
knock.
expressing
Hey,
their own fundamental rights to assemble in different places,
but you're
and
not
they
being
were
honest.
killed for no justifiable
That's
reason.
not true.
We have fundamental differences of opinion,
But you're
sir.
not being
And it's
honest. It
America, and we
wasn't a no
can have
knock.
fundamental differences of opinion. But again, we don't have to agree, and we don't have to be disagreeable.
Do you support critical race theory?
It's probably 2 or 3 books on them right here behind me. Yeah, matter of fact, there's one right there I'm looking at. There's a few books on them right here.
So you support that?
I guess theory, I don't know what you mean by support it. You'd have to be more specific than
Do
that.
you believe that the educational system, the American companies, businesses should be teaching people that white people, all white people are racist, and that they're inherently born that way? They can't help that race, white privilege, and all that. Should that be taught about white people in schools and in businesses, in government business and private businesses around the country?
So that we have 2 different appreciations of what critical race theory is. When I hear the term critical race theory, it takes me back to law school, and it takes me back to doctrines that are wholly inconsistent with what you have shared.
But
What
I'm
I'm
asking you, should
understanding,
that be taught that white people are naturally racist and that they have white privilege? Should that be taught?
I don't think that any person is naturally racist. I
I'm asking you,
fundamentally
should that
disagree
be
with that.
taught?
I fundamentally disagree. I learned a long time ago, you don't answer a question holistically if it's piecemeal together. So you have to forgive me, but you're asking a very provocative question.
The
So I
president
want to
said that
explain.
he's not going to allow them to teach that critical race theory in schools and in businesses, government businesses, about white privilege or white systemic racism and all that crap. He's not going to allow that to happen because it's wrong to do that to any race. Do you support that?
So I think fundamentally we live in a society where it's absolutely unconscionable to say that there is no such thing as ethnic privilege or white privilege. That's a historic fact.
What is white privilege? I
But the
don't know
fact,
what
but
that is.
however, the question as you posed as whites being naturally racist, I fundamentally disagree with that in the most profound way.
Should
I
it
don't
be
think there's any
taught
such
that
thing
there
as
is
a
white
fundamental
privilege?
racist. Racism is something that is learned. Racism is something that comes about based on experience,
Because of
not something
time,
that I think
should
is
it be
immutable.
taught that there's white privilege?
In order to understand problems, and in order to, and I work very much at racial reconciliation in ministry and otherwise, in order to understand problems, you've got to come to the table. And an academic environment is a space where, again, you don't have to agree, but you don't have to be disagreeable because you can't agree on things. But it's an intellectual laboratory. It's the marketplace of ideas. It's a place where you come and you can exchange and grow, even if you differ of opinion, but you grow based on someone else's perspective.
Should it be taught that white privilege exists? Should that be taught?
There very much so is a such thing as white privilege. It has existed
Should that be
forever.
taught that white
However,
privilege exists?
I don't want to answer the question just, I mean, it's not a yes or no thing, because if you're going to teach that, you've got to teach a lot more to go along with unpacking that. Otherwise, it's taken completely out of context and it makes no sense. and I can't just answer a limited question like that. That's not who I am.
So you can't tell me if that should be taught or not.
I think we need to have more dialogue on race. I will absolutely say that.
But how about white privilege? Should that be taught?
Based on what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, based on what happened in Louisville, Kentucky,
You're
with
not
the
answering
grand jury
refusing
to
just a
indict
simple
Breonna
question.
Taylor's
Should
killers,
that be taught?
based on what happened in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with Alton Sterling, based on what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, with Michael Brown, based on what happened in Staten Island, New York,
did that happen
with
because
Eric
of white
Gardner.
privilege?
There obviously are implicit biases. There obviously are fundamental differences in perception. We obviously have got major race disconnects in the United States of America. And if we refuse to talk about them, we will only continue to regress. We will never, as a nation, progress and make progress.
So you just read off all the names of the thugs and the criminals and people who've been attacked by cops because they disobeyed the cops or whatever.
And you described Breonna, but forgive me, you described Breonna Taylor as a thug, as someone who was in her own home,
with a drug dealer,
not on the street, not doing anything
with thug-like,
as you call it, in her own home.
With
and
a drug
someone comes in with a no-knock warrant and kills her in her own home.
It was a no-knock.
But you described her as a thug.
It was not a no-knock.
You describe her as a
no-knock.
She's in her own home.
You're being dishonest.
You describe Michael Brown as a thug.
But you're being dishonest.
You describe Alton Sterling as a thug.
Hey, as
you
a reverend.
Jason Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a brother who was with his young children, taking one of them to a birthday party.
He was wanted for
trying to get in his car.
He was wanted for the abuse of a woman. But let me ask, Breonna was in the house with a drug addict person.
How could you possibly, in good conscience, holistically describe that class of individuals that I named? How could you, in good conscience, describe them as thugs?
Because I love what's right and I know the truth.
Expressing their First Amendment rights, freedom of assembly. Not even Breonna Taylor; she was in her own apartment.
But you're not being honest when you said it was
these are people who were expressing their own fundamental rights to assemble in different places.
But you're not being honest.
Killed for no justifiable reason.
That's not true.
We have fundamental differences of opinion,
but you're not being honest. It wasn't a no-knock.
We can have fundamental differences of opinion, but again, we don't have to agree and we don't have to be disagreeable. We have some baseline fundamental differences of opinion.
But you're not being honest. That was not a no-knock warrant.
I'm being completely honest.
No.
I'm being anything. I'm being absolutely honest.
It was not a no-knock warrant.
She was killed in her home after the warrant was executed.
With a drug addict person.
After the warrant was executed,
but it was not a no-knock warrant.
Many times.
It was not a no-knock warrant.
In her own home.
Let me ask you.
And I described her living accommodation or her living situation in response to you calling her a thug.
Do you believe in liberation?
Which I believe is unconscionable.
Do you believe all these people that you people are protected are no good people, but you're leaving that out?
Tell me, who are you people? I've heard that term before, but I'm not sure what it means.
You black people who are mentioning about the so-called abusive cop, but you're not saying that these people that are being hurt or affected by cops are no good people. They're criminals, they're thugs, they're living in with drug addicts or all that. You're leaving all that part out to give the false impression that white cops just have nothing else to do but to go out and kill a black. And that's not fair. It's not right. And as a minister, you
besides keeping his knee on the neck of George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
He was on drugs.
Nothing else to do.
He was on drugs.
That is not restraint. That's not reasonable restraint. That's 8 minutes and 46 seconds to kill someone.
No, he wanted to.
That is not reasonable. It's not conscionable. It's outright unright. It's outright unjust.
You're not being honest.
That cop is the thug.
You're not being honest.
That cop who killed George Floyd is the thug.
That's not true. That's not true. But let me move on. Do you believe in black liberation theology?
Yes, sir.
You do. Do you love white people?
I love all people.
How about
until
white
I have
people?
A reason not to.
Do you love white people?
I love all people until I have a reason not to.
Do you love white people?
I love all people categorically.
How about
unless I have, let me specify, unless I have a reason not to love a particular person, my fundamental disposition is to love all people.
Do you love white people?
I love all people.
Do you support Black Lives Matter?
Yes.
Even though they're a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians who hate God, who hate the nuclear family, who are trained to be Marxists, they hate the unborn children. They want to turn America into a socialist society. Everything about them is evil. As a reverend, you still support them?
I dare not make those sort of globalistic comparisons or comments about people. I
They
dare
said
not
about
make that.
themselves.
I dare not. I dare not make
But
those
that's
sort
what
of
they say about
globalistic
themselves.
categorizations about individuals.
They
What
said
I
about
do know is that
themselves.
I support a movement. I recognize fundamentally that all lives matter. But as a result of what happened to Breonna Taylor, and as a result
But
of how
these Black
Kentucky's
Lives Matter
attorney
people are
general
evil.
undermined her character, I recognize that people must speak out and speak truth to power in the fact that Black lives must matter too.
So it
If
doesn't
all lives
matter that
matter,
they
if
are
there's a such
fat.
thing as value in human life, Black lives must matter too.
So it doesn't matter to you as a reverend that they are fat, radical black lesbians.
We are all God's children, brother. I profoundly disagree with some of the things you said, but I'm not going to turn around and talk about you when
But
we finish this interview.
we're not all God's children. Only those who have been born again are God's children. God created all, but all are not his children. Some belong to Satan.